First day picking up my grandson after school. The teacher said there's no such student. My son came over. I decided to go back to my hometown. My name is Zhou Chang'an. I am 62 years old this year. I thought I had already experienced all the vicissitudes of life, that nothing could shock me anymore. However, today, the first time I went to pick up my grandson from school, I encountered a situation that left me completely caught off guard. Sorry, student Zhou Hui. We don't have a student by that name here. The young female teacher frowned, flipping through the roster in her hand. Could you have mistaken the school? I stood there, stunned, momentarily at a loss. How could this be? I distinctly remember my son, Zhou Yang, saying that my grandson attended this kindergarten. I pulled out my phone, my hand trembling as I dialed my son's number. Dad, what's wrong? Zhou Yang's voice came from the other end of the line. Yang, I'm here to pick up Xiao Hui, but the teacher says there's no such student. Could it be that I got the wrong school? I tried hard to keep my voice calm. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Then Zhou Yang said urgently, Dad, don't worry. I'll be there right away. 10 minutes later, Zhou Yang came running to the kindergarten gate, panting, his face full of anxiety and unease, which made me even more unsure of what was happening. Mr. Zhou, your son is here. The teacher breathed a sigh of relief. There might be some misunderstanding. Zhou Yang took a deep breath, turned to the teacher, and said, Teacher, sorry, it was our oversight. My son's name is Lin Hui, not Zhou Hui. When I heard these words, I felt the world spin around me. Lin Hui? Why is it Lin Hui? How could my grandson have the surname Lin? At that moment, a tender voice called out, Dad, Grandpa. I turned around mechanically and saw a little boy running towards us. He looked exactly like Zhou Yang when he was little. But why? Why didn't he have the surname Zhou? I felt dizzy, a buzzing in my ears. Zhou Yang hurriedly supported me, whispering, Dad, let's go home and talk. Seeing the anxious look in my son's eyes, I suddenly realized that beneath this calm surface, there was a secret I knew nothing about, a secret that could very well change the dynamics of our family. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Yes, we need to go home and have a good talk. But for some reason, a strong impulse surged within me, a desire to flee this place immediately, to escape back to my familiar hometown. At that moment, I suddenly felt like an outsider, standing on the sidelines of my own life, watching an absurd drama unfold, unsure whether I even had any lines left. On the way home, the atmosphere in the car was so heavy it was suffocating. Xiao Hui sat in the back seat, innocently humming a song, completely oblivious to the storm brewing. Zhou Yang gripped the steering wheel tightly, eyes fixed on the road ahead, occasionally glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I stared out the window, watching the scenery whiz by, my thoughts spinning as fast as the car wheels. In 1984, I married my wife Li Qiufang in that small county town. Back then, we were full of hope and expectation for the future. 3 years later, Zhou Yang was born, bringing endless joy to our lives. To give our son the best life, Qiufang and I lived frugally, pouring all our energy into him. Dad, we're home. Zhou Yang's voice pulled me back to reality. We walked into the house silently. Qiufang was busy in the kitchen. Hearing the commotion, she poked her head out and asked, You're back. Was Xiao Hui good? Seeing the gloomy expression on my face, she immediately realized something was wrong and quickly came out. Mom, take Xiao Hui to wash his hands first. Zhou Yang signaled to Qiufang with a glance. Qiufang understood, taking Xiao Hui's hand and leading him to the bathroom. Only Zhou Yang and I were left in the living room, an uneasy silence hanging in the air. Dad, I have something to tell you. Zhou Yang took a deep breath, summoning the courage to speak. I looked up, my gaze piercing as I stared at him. Speak, I'm listening. Zhou Yang's voice trembled slightly. Actually, when Xiao Hui was born, we named him Lin Hui. He took his mother's surname. I felt as if my heart had been dealt a heavy blow, even though I had mentally prepared myself at the kindergarten gate. Hearing my son admit it still caused me intense pain. Why? I struggled to control my emotions, but my voice still quivered. Our Zhou family has only had one male descendant per generation. What were you thinking? Zhou Yang lowered his head, his voice growing smaller and smaller. At that time, when Xiao Hui was born, my mother-in-law's family made a big fuss. They insisted that the child take his mother's surname, Lin. Xiao Lin even threatened to divorce me. I really had no choice, so I agreed. I abruptly stood up, fury boiling within me. No choice? Are you a man? You can't even protect your own child's surname? Dad, Zhou Yang tried to explain, but I cut him off. Do you know how your mother and I have lived all these years? We scrimped and saved to raise you. When you got married, we gave a dowry of 100,000 yuan. When you bought a house, we gave another 200,000 yuan. Your mother even gave up her own life to help you raise your children. And what do we get in return? You can't even keep your own surname? The more I spoke, the more agitated I became. Years of grievances and disappointment pouring out like a dam breaking. Zhou Yang stood there, head down, saying nothing, like a child who had done something wrong. Just then, Qiufeng came out of the bathroom, with Xiao Hui trailing behind her. Seeing the tense atmosphere, Qiufeng quickly stepped forward to intervene. Old Zhou, don't be angry. Let's talk this out calmly. I sneered. Talk calmly? What else is there to talk about? Our Zhou family's bloodline is cut off. Do you understand that? Xiao Hui seemed to sense the tension in the air, hiding timidly behind Qiufeng. Qiufeng crouched down and gently said to him, Xiao Hui, be good. Go play in your room for a while, okay? After Xiao Hui went into his room, Qiufeng turned to me, her tone calm but firm. Old Zhou, don't get so worked up. It's very common now for children to take their mother's surname. It's no big deal. I couldn't believe my ears, looking at Qiufeng in disbelief. You knew all along? Qiufeng sighed. Yes, I knew, but I didn't think it was a big deal. What matters is that the child is healthy and happy. The surname doesn't matter. I felt a wave of dizziness, as if the whole world was spinning. My wife, the partner I had been with for 40 years, had also kept this from me. I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness and betrayal. You all kept this from me? My voice was filled with pain and anger. What do you take me for? An old fool. Yo Yang Huri Li explained it. Dad, we didn't mean to keep it from you. We just thought you couldn't handle it, that you'd be angry. And now, I interrupted coldly. Now I'm not angry. The room fell into a deathly silence. I looked around, suddenly feeling this home was so unfamiliar. My son, my wife, they were all standing on the opposite side of me. I felt suffocated, desperate for fresh air. I'm going back to the old home. I suddenly said, my voice firm. Qiufeng and Zhou Yang were stunned. Dad, don't be impulsive. Zhou Yang quickly tried to persuade me. Calm down, let's talk things over. Talk? What's there to talk about? My opinion doesn't matter anyway. I shook my head, ignoring their attempts to persuade me. I packed my bag, turned around, and walked out of the house without looking back. As I stepped out of the door, I felt a mix of pain, but also an inexplicable sense of relief. Perhaps going back to my hometown, back to that familiar place, is the only way for me to find peace. I walked on the road, each step heavy, but also filled with determination. The sky was getting dark, and I didn't know what awaited me at the end of this road. But I knew I had to go back, because that's my home. All right, we'll stop here for today. Thank you for watching. I hope today's content resonated with you. For those who haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click subscribe so we can be with you every day. Let's grow together, be happy together, and grow old together. See you next time.